Yeah, just a fancy anthem. Travel in a trio, or maybe
The Czarface and MF Doom collaboration has a satisfactory level of a really dry and uniced cake. I like Czarface. The idea of hip-hop music loosely based upon comic books is a gimmicky idea that has resulted in quality music and decent albums over the past few years. I'm still jamming to the song NIGHTCRAWLER, and to be entirely honest, so should you. It makes sense then that the crew teams up with fellow comic book villain MC and esoteric rhyme scheme shredder MF Doom, and behind masks the crew set out to deliver savage East Coast boom bap bops for all. Except not really. The resulting album is far less exciting than a matchup makes you hope that it is. 7L's production is what saves a lot of these tracks, considering that the MCs are hit or miss on this particular project. Quite frankly, I don't think Doom is even on his top game here. He's mixed so low on Badness with Madness as if he was rehearsing a few meters away before a scheduled take and the microphone still picked it up. I think a lot of what I find mildly irritating about the album and its writing can be found on the track Don't Spoil It. Inspector Deck presents a verse packed with references to movies starring hip-hop music and artists, but it reads more like a list of films read straight from IMDb. In fairness, the verse is written to integrate the titles into neat sentences, but with less of an idea on this track, all I'm thinking is, what on earth was the point of that, considering that verse is essentially the entire song. A lot of this collaboration comes across more as scrapped verses and lines packed into a project, pretending to be something flashier than it actually is. But it wouldn't matter that the album is full of scraps if it just genuinely had good songs on it, and the issue is, it just doesn't, aside from a select several. I can find a cartoonishly boastful track entertaining, but if that is all I am in for, then my interest switch flips the other way unexpectedly quick. Especially on the track Metal with Metal, where MCs flow sluggishly and unexcitedly over a beat that sounds like it was taken from the soundtrack of Mickey Mania for the PlayStation 1. Also, the lyrics may have a few select highlights, including the funniest name drop of Stephen A. Smith that would only be beaten by anything referencing his "Take a Look Y'all JPEG" tweet, as well as a neat asthmatic kitty / Sufjan Stevens reference, and a fair few biting punchlines like "You with the mic is like a eunuch with a hooker." But elsewhere, the lyrics feel like a tedious pile of punchlines that'd fit better in a Tim Vine stand-up routine, except Vine pulls them off because he is naturally a goofy fellow. Not sure how Czarface are gonna make themselves look cool with these. I'm in the arcade with no change, I ain't playing no games. I'm an animal, they let me off the chain. I stay woke like 7 cups of coffee. If my description of this album so far seems too bleak, then worry no more, because there are some great highlights on this album to be found among the rubble of alarming mediocrity. On the track titled Captain Crunch, it makes sense that those drums and cymbals on the beat are ridiculously crispy, and it's the first instance on the album where the verses actually bite. Our MCs here sound like they're genuinely hungry. Seems like the title got them in the mood. I'm sure a lot of people were looking forward to Phantoms, and indeed Open Mike Eagle does deliver with his feature. A neat one about making friends with a ghost in his apartment that references Phantogram, which is always a bonus if you ask me, but alongside other verses on this track, I struggle to figure out what the overall idea of the collaboration even is. Maybe they're just all here to spit some fun verses with grin-inducing pop culture references, but even a lot of that, despite some occasional lyrical highlights, sounds lethargic and forced. At least on this track, the way that the beat begins roaring as Inspector Deck ramps up the energy is extremely well executed, and Kendra Morris's singing is integrated extremely creatively into the beat as this moment takes place. On the track Astral Traveling, Vinny Paz has a gruff and intimidating voice that made me zip my jacket up tighter to defend myself, before the track fell off and became essentially Inspector rapping over Skype call ringtones. And on the track Nautical Depth, the entire team spits fire. Or maybe it's just 7L's beat on this thing that makes it feel like they ramped up the heat. That makes up a staggering 4 impressive tracks out of 12, excluding the interludes. 4 out of 10.